If you have 80% in manufacturing 40 years ago, supporting 20% in supply and service industries, it's the easiest thing in the world to understand. They can look after the young and the old, from the cradle to the grave. But if you destroy the manufacturing base and turn the pyramid upside down so that only 20% is in manufacturing, trying to support 80% who are in supply and service or financial services, how on earth can 20% production support 80% who are in non-production? It simply is an economic nonsense. And all of us have got to look at it very seriously indeed. And none of us must fall for the trick that our approach is a policy which is in opposition to, first of all, immigration from countries like the West Indies, or countries where we have occupied them for years. And I've often said this, it's an interesting comparator. When you hear the racists in our society say, what we should do is to send them all back to their own countries. Well, I've worked it out. I've worked it out. If we sent all the people of whatever colour or whatever religion back to their own countries, we'd probably be able to send back from this country today both those who've just come in and the descendants of those who've come in, something like around 30 million. Yes? Well, take Ireland for a start. If the same policy applied in Ireland, there are in America alone 42 million Irish descendants. And if you brought 42 million people back from America to Ireland, it would sink. If you bring back from America all those of English and Scottish extraction, you bring back something like 120 million or 140 million. If you brought them all back from Australia, you'd probably just leave the Aborigines. If you brought them back from New Zealand, the same thing would happen. And what about Africa? Look at the places in Africa that we've occupied. And in Southeast Asia, where we've occupied. If you brought all these people back, well, the so-called stupid repatriation argument, it's simply a nonsense. And if we want to go back even further, where do we all come from? Well, I mean, my ancestors, I know, came from Ireland. But before that, I've got no doubt that they came from Norway, when the Vikings invaded Ireland. I've got no doubt that the people who came from Normandy came over here, looking at the weather, probably wish they never did. But nevertheless, you know, the whole policy of migration or immigration are two different issues. Immigration is one thing. Asylum seekers is another thing, both of which we would not oppose. Economic migration, that's bringing workers in to do jobs at a cut rate, we would and should oppose. For example, it's coming out now in the news only this week. They're coming in with what are openly called gangmasters. And what they do, and I've spoken to my Irish colleagues, and I've spoken to people in Britain, they are employed by these gangmasters. And they offer a package to a hotel, or they offer a package maybe to a hospital, maybe to some other development or institution in Britain. And the package includes the supply of labour and material. The organisation to which the offer is made pays an amount of money. Why? Cheaper. They pay a sum of money, and for that they don't have to pay any tax, for that they don't have to pay any national insurance contributions, and for that they're unlikely to be liable for any accident that may occur whilst workers are on their premises, unless it can be proven that the responsibility is directly theirs. but there's still a vicarious liability on the part of the gangmasters in any event. But in some cases, the gangmasters are paying workers less than half the national minimum wage. Secondly, they're charging them a rent to stay in a squalid rented accommodation provided by the gangmaster themselves. And they're also ensuring that in many cases they even obtain food from specified outlets in order that they can maximise the income from the economic migrants. Now, that's not migration, that's not immigration, that's exploitation on a grand scale that all of us ought to be opposing. Looking now at the politics of the situation briefly, everything that we said about the three main parties is something that's come true. I can do no more when I'm talking about the Conservative Party than say the Conservative Party by its very name aims to do that, to conserve the capitalist system. The Liberal Democrats, who were formerly the Liberals and formerly a breakaway from the Labour Party, probably to the left of the Labour Party now as a matter of fact, their policy again supports the free enterprise system, the capitalist system. They openly advocate, probably more than anybody else, membership of the European Union. In other words, membership of an organisation which takes away all our individual sovereign rights.